Most of you that are here today probably are very aware that we have an issue in California, in the nation, with minority homeownership rates, and that they fall well below those of white families. White families run around 73% in the homeownership rate, and what we're seeing in minority groups is somewhere between 56% for maybe Hispanics, all the way down to around 43 or 45% for Black families. And that is unacceptable. So most of you here today have probably already heard about the problem. What I'm hoping to do is to bring these industry experts together today to talk more about solutions. We already know about the problem, but how can we all integrate practices into what we're doing today to make a difference, to actually change this? So with me here today is Tony Thompson. He's the CEO and founder of National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America, also known as NAMBA. NAMBA is an organization that's been dedicated to increasing the engagement of women and minorities with the Mortgage Bankers Association at the local, state, and national level. Since its inception in 2016, NAMBA has grown to over 30 chapters and over 4,500 members nationwide. So welcome, Tony. Also here with me today is Eric Lawrence Frazier, MBA. He is the CEO and founder of The Power Is Now Media, and he's also a mortgage advisor with First Bank. Eric specializes in working with first-time home buyers and investors in residential and 2 to 4 unit residential properties or real estate properties, both purchases and refinance transactions. He's been a California real estate broker and consultant for 30 years and a federally licensed mortgage broker or mortgage lender for 40 years. Welcome, Eric. And then lastly, I'm pleased to introduce the Director of Legislative Policy and External Affairs with New American Funding, Charles Lowry Jr. Charles brings over 20 years of mortgage, housing, and advocacy experience to the current position he has with New American. New American Funding is a growing independent mortgage banking company. Most recently, Charles has served as Director of State Regulatory Relations for OCWEN Financial Corporation, where he interacted with state regulatory representatives and industry groups. So welcome, Charles, to the panel as well.
Thank you.
Well, I said a little bit of the background. I talked about how I really want this discussion between the three of us, or the four of us, to be about what we are integrating into our business practices today and what we can share with the attendees about what they can do to help change this, how to increase minority homeownership rates. Year after year, we know that studies keep producing information about all the positive impacts of real estate and homeownership on families, communities, and the economy as a whole. But did you know that real estate is actually one of the largest factors in building financial security? It truly does impact someone's financial security and future. The Federal Reserve has actually estimated that the net worth of a homeowner in the United States is $255,000 versus a renter that it's estimated their net worth is only $6,300. That's huge. But we're not dealing with an equal playing field, as I mentioned before. Minority homeownership rates today are well below those of white households. So in the last year and a half, Golden State Finance Authority has been very focused on Black homeownership rates, as well as other minority groups, but really trying to make a difference through education and awareness campaigns. But today I want to bring these other speakers in to discuss what their organizations are doing as well. So let's get started. Charles, I'm going to start with you. New American Funding launched an initiative in 2016, and they actually named it New American Dream. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is, what its goals are, and how it's been achieving those, and what it's hoping to achieve in the coming years?
Thank you, Carolyn. It's very appreciate the opportunity to be here with the panelists, Tony and Eric. I want to thank you as well as the organizers of the symposium for this opportunity. The New American Dream is an initiative started in 2016 by Patty Arviello, our co-president, our co-founder and president of New American Funding. She modeled New American Dream after Latino Focus. Latino Focus, she started as a Latina being in the mortgage industry and looking to reach Latino borrowers by just having loan officers who mirror their community, setting up events, activities with NARAP, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and beginning to just really, in a simple way, have those people in our company mirror the communities that they serve. So New American Dream is really something just based upon that for the African American community. Although the challenges for both communities are somewhat similar, but very different in terms of culture and issues. The New American Dream initiative has grown over the past 5 years to a point where we are now the third largest lender to the Black community in terms of our 2020 HMDA data. And by that, I mean that 12.4% of our purchase loans went to the Black home buyers through our 2020 HMDA data, compared to 6.7% average for the industry. So you see that we're, based upon the industry average, we're almost doing, Carolyn, 100% or double the amount of loans. And how are we doing that? Again, it starts with our loan officers, our activities, our events, our partnerships. We partnered with NAMBA as well, and Tony. But it's a great program that has begun to take off, but it can't do it on its own, Carolyn. It's really a program that is ours, that we own, but we want to make sure that what we're doing and the secret sauce we have is simple, and we want to share that with others and hopefully be successful.
So are there specific objectives or specific things that you're doing that has really resulted in this increase in properties being purchased by Black Americans?
Well, I think that when I talk about mirroring the community, for example, we have a total of 114 Black loan officers with our company. 61 of those are with our retail unit that do, and the outside, 53 of those persons are at our call centers. And I think that that's where our efforts start, is that we have people, again, home buyers are looking for people like them, people that know their concerns, people that see the issues that they have. And I think that that's where our activities start. I think also, Carolyn, we also are working in states where we think that there are opportunities for home ownership. In Georgia, we have in the Southeast region, we have affordable homes that are available. We're working with lenders and builders in those communities, and we're really being successful at helping Black home buyers really find homes. We're trying to build that same base here in the Washington area where I am, in Maryland. We're looking at areas that are affordable for housing. Our previous panelists talked about the difficulties in the California market, and we have to take that into consideration. We have to look for places that we can build this out, but where home ownership opportunities are available. But that's not to say that we don't consider California a prospect. Just last week, we attended the Mortgage Bankers Association conference in San Diego, as well as CARAB, which is the California state organization for NARAB, which is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. So we attended that conference to really help build a base with Black realtors in the state of California. So I think it's sort of we can talk more. I want to hear from you as well as the other panelists. I think there's so many initiatives that are coming together now. The MBA has a minority home ownership initiative. The National Housing Conference has 3 by 30, which is 3 by 2030, which is 3 million new Black home owners by the year 2030. All of these groups are coming together at this moment in time. And I think that if combined with industry activities and support, we can really achieve and move the needle in terms of increasing Black home ownership.
One of the things that I heard you talk about was representation within your own workforce. And I know we're going to discuss that a little bit further with all the panelists, but I think that's really important. And then I also heard you talk about the focus on the areas where the minority home buyer is living or renting. And, you know, and I think that comes down to, and you can agree or not, but you know, the lenders and real estate agents not always going for the low-hanging fruit. Like, you need to be looking at where are their affordability issues, where are there minority home buyers that are not getting into this real estate market, and focus your efforts in those areas. Would you guys agree?
I would agree. I would agree. I think that we're looking at places. California is I know difficult in some respects, but we're based there. So as a company, we have a desire to be there. Texas, Georgia, Maryland, the Midwest areas, Tennessee. There's so many different areas, Carolyn, that we have offices across the country, and we're looking to really build out that in just the way that you've mentioned.
Well, it's great to have New American doing this, and it looks like you've been one of the forerunners to have started this a few years ago. And I agree, we're seeing so many industry organizations getting on board. This isn't just going to impact the financial security of minorities. This affects our entire economy by bringing some equity across the board. Eric, you work with the Power Is Now media, and you can maybe go into a little bit more detail about what TPI actually does. The Power Is Now has an African American Black homeownership initiative that you launched on Juneteenth of this year, June 19th. And I've been working with you very closely on this same initiative. In addition, you've written on your own company website that you have committed the rest of your career in banking to achieving this goal. So this is an important issue to you both professionally and personally. What is your strategy to increasing minority homeownership?
First, thank you, Carolyn, for inviting me to participate in this panel discussion. And let me say, in addition to being the president and CEO of the Power Is Now Media, I am also a vice president and mortgage advisor with First Bank. My license number is 461807. The views and opinions that I express on this panel are my own and do not necessarily reflect that of First Bank. I am extremely passionate about homeownership, and that passion is just born out of my own experience and of being raised by parents who didn't own a home for many years and finally purchased a home after getting divorced and selling their home. They both passed on, not being homeowners, not leaving any inheritance for their children. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. The Power Is Now came into fruition, if you will, in August of 2009 as a means to provide information to real estate professionals about the opportunity to assist banks, particularly at that time, Wells Fargo, and then other asset management companies and GSEs in disposing of assets, REOs. And as you know, we were going through the great financial crisis. And so the foundation of our existence is all about providing information and access to information. The success of those teleconference calls forced us to find other platforms to be able to accommodate more people. And that's when we discovered in April of 2011, Blog Talk Radio. Many radio stations were trying to go, broadcast on internet anyway. That became so successful that we eventually, today, here we are, fast forward 12 years in broadcasting. We're syndicated. You can find the Power Is Now on any platform across the country. And that led to the magazine and the TV shows with Facebook Live. And so at thepowerisnow.com, you can see a lot of great educational information about homeownership. We have one focus, and that is to make the American dream a reality about homeownership. And we're leading that conversation through alliances and partnerships. And I so appreciate the Golden State Finance Authority and partnering with me, because in just being able to provide more information and make that information available not just online, because everyone has a website, but in a video format in which we really break down the benefits of homeownership, the down payment assistance programs, the details of those programs, so people can not only get the information, but take action right away. I was just reading a report by the Pew Research Center. They did a study earlier this year and reported that 81% of Americans are getting their information on YouTube, and about 79, not a big difference between the two, and that is YouTube, Facebook. It's about 71 or 78%. And so people today are getting their content, getting their information about homeownership online. And we knew this was coming because, it was told to all real estate professionals, the first thing the person's going to do is Google you, right? And then now they're not just Googling you, but they're also looking for information. And so we're committed as a media platform by accident to be the resource for consumers to learn about down payment assistance, and particularly low to moderate income communities and African Americans, because we represent the lowest rate of homeownership of all communities. As a banker now for 40 years, I'm a witness to the lack of outreach by financial institutions, both banks and non-banks. I'm a witness to the lack of diversity that exists among mortgage banks and commercial banks to serve low to moderate communities and minority communities. And I tell you, I am so impressed with what New American is doing. I had the honor of interviewing Patty and going into details about their training program. They are setting the pace. They are leading the way. I wish the entire industry would take notice as to what they're doing and the impact they're making, and it's measurable. And looking at the data, the impact they're making. And then what Tony is doing in terms of bringing that attention to being more diversified in the workforce, and bringing it to the attention of major companies to actually reach out to historical Black universities and other schools and identify young African Americans and because we're all getting old and retiring, to get into this incredible industry. I know that I stumbled into this industry. I was going to be a doctor. I was a chemistry physics major. I dropped out, got married at 19, went back to school, and 40 years later, both in marriage and in mortgage banking, I tell you, I didn't even know that the opportunity like that exists for someone like myself to be able to get into a financial industry, make an incredible living, provide a great opportunity for my family and generations to come. And so it's my personal experience that has made me absolutely committed for the fourth quarter of my career now. I'll be 60 next year. I want to spend the rest of my life truly making an impact in my community and providing access to information, being a bona fide expert on all down payment assistance. And I tell you, I love what the Down Payment Assistance Center is doing and making that information accessible on the MLS. And because real estate agents it's not intentional, but they turn their nose up to people bringing down payment assistance to the table in transactions. They have all this misinformation about the time it takes when a person is using down payment assistance. And so there needs to be more education, more outreach, and I'm happy to be in partnership with you, Carolyn, and with the California Housing Finance Agency and advertising their programs. And I'm looking for further partnerships with other organizations, including the Down Payment Assistance, to create content that really explains how to use the program, how to access the program. Now, I know I'm probably going over my 2 minutes, but Carolyn, you know me, so stop me if you need to.
I do want to come back to that. So before we finish this panel, we're going to come back to how can people get involved, at a more, on the street level with organizations like this, companies like this. And I do want to come back to the partnerships you're looking to build from here forward. So don't lose track of that, because you've been in partnership with Cal-ALHFA and with Golden State Finance Authority, but you are actually looking for more stakeholders, more partnerships to continue this initiative. And it would be a great benefit to other companies to get involved with your media company. So we will come to that. Tony, I'd like to bring you into the discussion. National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America has been taking a very active approach to increasing minority home ownership by focusing on the people themselves that are working in the mortgage industry. I think the quote that I've seen from you on the company website has been, our goal is to help make a difference in our industry by being involved in our industry. This is at the very heart of your organization's mission. So tell me about this perspective and how NAMBA is doing this.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Carolyn, and Golden State, as well as the Cal-ALHFA for giving me a chance to participate in today's call. I love it when I see Eric because he has this passion, and that's really what we need. I'm actually coming live today from Philadelphia, downtown in what they call Center City. We just participated through a collaboration with both a lot of the real estate partners and local and some of the state HFFAs as well, in opening up a first of its kind of home ownership center in the downtown city center area of Philadelphia, with the one goal of helping to just grow minority home ownership and also grow wealth. And so for us at NAMBA, our focus is really simple. First and foremost, we want to make sure that we can help the real estate and mortgage professionals who are in our industry become better practitioners so that they can understand how to provide all the resources that consumers will need, like down payment assistance programs that can help increase home ownership. Why? Because last week at the NBA, TransUnion came out with a study that said there are currently approximately 300 billion, so 300 with a B, ready now, LMI, CRA, first-time home buyers for both purchase and refinance across the country. So when you think about the opportunity for cities throughout California and agents and lenders as well to look at ways to not only grow their production, but most importantly, help the consumer, the first-time home buyer through utilizing DPA is very important. But secondly, at NAMBA, we also know that we have to help make sure that every lender represents the company, the marketplace that they live and serve in. And so our goal at NAMBA is to make sure that we can also connect and introduce college students to exciting careers, because we know that from a demographic standpoint, we need more young people in our industry, and we need more diverse young people of all ethnicities and all backgrounds. And so that's our passion and our mission here at NAMBA.
To explain a little bit more about what you're doing at the college level, because this is very integral to NAMBA, bringing up a diverse population into the mortgage industry, right? So that the home buyers out there see representation of themselves and can connect with that. So tell me a little bit more about what you're doing at the college level.
Absolutely. First, this year in September, NAMBA released a State of Diversity within the Mortgage Industry Report, which essentially quantified the average age of a loan officer, which is currently 50 years old. But it also showed a demographic breakdown of how we had ethnic population breakdown per, whether it's male, female, and or Asian, Latino, African-American, white. And what the study basically created was a business case that said, we need to have more people in our industry who reflect the demographics of all the communities in our industry. At the same time, if you look, according to NAR, the average age of a realtor is 54 years. And we know that there's a 50-plus age gap or a 50-plus age in the appraisal industry as well. So all three of those industries are very critical to making the dream of home ownership become a reality. And so for NAMBA, our goal is real simple. We want to put chapters on college campuses throughout the country in both public, private, HBCU, historically Black colleges and universities, as well as high predominantly Latino-based schools and institutions in really two efforts. One, to intentionally introduce students to exciting careers within mortgage, lending, and/or appraisal. And then secondly, to make sure that we can start the education process for helping students to understand that they can become homeowners after they graduate from school, instead of taking 10 years before they get the keys to that first home. And that's a significant wealth building opportunity, but that's also a significant opportunity for our industry, both in real estate and lending, to help increase home ownership by really focusing in on the current generation that we have coming through college. And so that's our goal, is to have colleges located throughout the country, certainly throughout the footprint of California, which has a very diverse population, a large college base as well. We want to make sure that we're representative in that market, so that then lenders, real estate companies, and also appraisal companies can tap and introduce these young people to their careers, to their companies, and start bringing in that next generation of leaders across our industry.
So here in California, how many chapters has NAMBA initiated, and what's in the forecast for this next year?
So currently NAMBA has 4 chapters in the great state of California. And we're looking, and those chapters are San Francisco, Orange County, San Diego, and also LA. We're also getting ready to do a launch in Riverside, California, as well as Sacramento, California coming up in the first quarter of 2022.
That's great. And I hope that GSFA will continue our partnership with you as we launch further in California. For those people who want to be more involved with NAMBA, with these local chapters here in California, where shall we direct them?
They can simply go to namba.org, that's NAMMBA.org, and they can learn more information about all the chapters in their local market and/or chapters that are getting ready to launch in their local market as well.
Great, thank you. Charles, let's talk a little bit more about diversity in terms of new Americans' actual workforce. And you mentioned this before, but the statistics are saying 60% of your employees are women, 45% are minorities, and 37% are millennials. How has that directly impacted the goals to increase minority homeownership?
Well, I think that reflects, Carolyn, again, the vision, the ideas of Patty Arviello, our co-founder and president. As a Latina, she has been involved in this space for so many years, and she has seen the benefits of a diverse workforce and has set about to really to do that throughout the company. And what I like about New American Funding is that leadership and that those goals, those aspirations, those intentions then become part of the company culture. The efforts that our talent acquisition team has in recruiting diverse loan officers, as well as other persons on the operations end and end of the business, continue. It's just sort of a natural part, Carolyn, of what New American Funding does. And I think that again shows up, at least on the sales side, with the loan officers mirroring the communities that they serve. So it's nothing fancy about it. It's just making it intentional. Our people and culture leaders within our company on the HR side are really emphasizing this, the need for diversity. And so we are just replicating that in all aspects of the company. So I think that is what we do, we continue to do. And then it makes it easy to encourage others to join us. We just had Tony, a woman, join us who, is it Raquel, that is a part of, she just sent an email out this morning about how much she has enjoyed working with NAMBA and wants to continue to improve our efforts. And as Tony knows, we brought a whole contingent of people to the NAMBA conference last month, or it's September, last September in Atlanta. So that, Carolyn, is what we're trying to do, is to really build up the company in those ways, and then outreach to different and partner with other organizations using those people and including everyone in the company in this effort so that it becomes, again, part of the culture that we have.
I think it is a admirable model, and I'd love to see more businesses increase the amount of women and minorities within their organization. Eric, you know, Golden State Finance Authority has worked directly with you on your Black Homeownership Initiative. And one of the first things that you and I talked about was reaching Black communities, and that it requires stepping outside the box. So share with us how you are getting education out to Black communities and how that is imperative.
So when I started The Power Is Now back in 2009, I wanted to make sure that African-American real estate professionals were getting their share of opportunity to represent banks, particularly that time Wells Fargo and other asset management companies, to sell REOs in their own backyard. And so it just seems like in every aspect of real estate, there's some form of disparity and discrimination. And so as we started off as B2B in 2008, and when we went online, Blog Talk Radio, and then started doing TV, we realized there was a need to also provide content for consumers. So as an entity, as a media company, we're B2B and B2C.
Can you explain what B2B is? Some of these acronyms they may not be familiar with.
Okay, so we're business to business. And so we work with real estate professionals, we work with housing finance agencies, we work with nonprofit organizations to create content. I mean, the reality is, if you're not online, you're not in business. And if you have a message or a program, or you want to do some type of advocacy, you need to be online. As I mentioned earlier, the Pew Research shows that 80% of Americans are getting everything they need to know online. So if you're not there, you're not really having the kind of impact you want to have. And so, like in the case with Golden State, Carolyn, you and I have spent hours creating content, and it's making a difference. I mean, every day I'm booked with appointments of people who want to talk about the Platinum program, the Open Door program, all from a few videos that were done. And they're not just created. You can create a video and put it on your website, but that can't be the end of it. It has to be distributed. You have to have the ability to distribute your information on multiple platforms. You have to be willing to make the investment in advertising it so people can see it on platforms. And that's what we have done here at The Power Is Now. And so in terms of reaching then low to moderate communities, African-American communities, being African-American, obviously, I've been very involved in my community. I'm a member of just about every Black organization you can name, honestly. And so I make sure that the content that we create gets sent to them, either directly to the leadership or to the entire database if I have access to it. And so the Power Is Now Wealth Initiative, our Black Homeownership Initiative, and please go to the website, thepowerisnow.com, and you can see it under television. We are focused on partnering with housing finance agencies like Golden State, like Cal-ALHFA, creating content that really brings the information about their programs down at a level where people can not only fully understand, but take action. Most housing finance agencies' websites are too complicated, too dense, too much information. Only real estate professionals can actually navigate through it, and even they don't fully get it and understand it. And so creating videos and podcasts that truly break it down is what we're doing. We're creating the content, and then we're partnering up with the organizations. So like, for example, the NAACP, the 100 Black Men, Black fraternities at HBCUs, Black business fraternities, Black doctors, lawyers, teachers. I have a full-time person who that's all they do all day long is build our database. We have databases of every organization in our community that you can think of, and it's growing every day. And it takes that kind of investment and effort to be able to identify who the people are, get their buy-in to then act as a conduit for us As we deliver the content to them, they in turn make sure it's delivered to their membership. And so I'm in the process right now of creating MOUs with organizations across the country so they can be conduits for the information we are creating. So we're not just relying on the internet itself, posting it on Facebook, YouTube, and all the platforms, but we're also making sure that there is that direct connection with these organizations to ensure that the information we're creating that is good for both the consumer, so B2B is business to business, B2C is business to consumer, is getting it, and it's a kind of information via podcast as well as video that they can actually take action on. And so the Powers Now Black Homeownership Initiative, we are looking to partner with every housing finance agency, like we've done with Golden State, to create that kind of content. It is video, it is podcast. And Carolyn, I'm really excited that come January, all of our content will be available on Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Fire Stick, every smartphone device, every Samsung smart TV. That's in January. And that's going to take our current reach of about 12 million right now to over 300 million. And so having this platform, I am all in on working with organizations who want to partner with us to create the content. I don't care what the program is: closing cost assistance, down payment assistance, education, financial literacy, working with HUD-approved counseling agencies, working with NAMBA, working with other banks and organizations. If they have programs that's going to make a difference in our community, it's all about creating the content and then distributing the content. And that's where I think we are great partners with any organization, and particularly with real estate agents who want to build their brand online as a resource and an educator for home ownership.
Yeah, and I do want to encourage people to partner with the Powers Now Media. Golden State Finance Authority's experience with working with you, Eric, has been wonderful the last year and a half. We do not have 50, 60 employees who are experienced in creating videos and media content at the level that your media company does. And so it's been a huge asset to us to help put online content together, to create advertising ventures together, and kind of just outsource some of these things that we just don't have the expertise in to a company that does. And you become that conduit, as you mentioned, to getting information out to the consumers or to other business partners. But I also wanted you to talk about what we're doing with churches, because the Black community is very influenced through churches and religious organizations. And I think that that's important to talk about.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Carolyn. So I'm a PK. My father was a pastor. And then I have served as a pastor for many years. I still am very involved in ministry. Started preaching at the tender age of 9. I was a boy preacher. And in fact, I credit the church for my ability to speak and do everything I do today. So I have this affinity and love for pastors. And in fact, just this weekend, we partnered with Golden State Financial. Megan did a fabulous job in talking about the Golden State program to Covenant Church. They're in Berkeley, California. We had a lot of people join us on Zoom to talk about the state of the market. We had a local realtor, Joe Fisher, Michelle Dupree of Fisher Realtors. They're VIPs on the Powers Now platform. Talk about the market out there. And then I went into more detail about home ownership programs. Megan talked about the Golden State Finance Authority programs. I went into the California Housing Finance Agency's programs. And already, this was Saturday, today is Thursday, and I think I have 20 applications just from that one Zoom meeting. And so we are partnering with churches across the country. And so I'm not approved as a bank. First Bank is not approved in every state that has a housing finance agent. We're approved in 48 states, but we're only approved in a few states with housing finance agencies. So, but I'm looking to partner with housing finance agencies in every single state, create that content, partner then with the churches in their state, of which I know who they are already, and to create this kind of content online. In fact, that's what the Powers Now Black Homeownership Initiative is all about. And again, I want to encourage everybody to watch the video on thepowersnow.com, and where I go into much more detail. And then in a couple of weeks, we will have a book available on Amazon about the Black Homeownership Initiative that we're making available to the whole world and what we're trying to do. And let me just say what it is, just in the most brief way I can. We're partnering with housing finance agencies to create content that is for the consumer. We are then taking that content putting it on our platform and distributing it worldwide. We're also delivering that content directly to stakeholders in our community. So we're forming MOUs and relationships with Black churches, Black organizations, Black fraternities, Black business fraternities, Black chambers across the United States to ensure that this content is being then delivered to those who really need to hear it. And that's been the challenge. Every time I conduct an interview with someone, they have never heard of Golden State or Cal-ALHFA. They've never heard of it. And these organizations have been around for 30 years. And so I realize, and it's really through our working together, Carolyn, that I realize how important this really is to be the voice, to amplify the voice of these organizations who are doing incredible work, providing down payment assistance, HUD counseling agency, providing financial literacy, budget counseling, foreclosure counseling. I mean, they need somebody to amplify their voice. And none of them can afford network TV and all these other very expensive media platforms. And so we want to be that resource for the world. That's my commitment as I close out the fourth quarter of my career. I don't want to work till I'm 70. So I'm all in for the next 5 years there, Carolyn, to make this a dream a reality.
And I encourage any mortgage professionals watching today, real estate professionals especially, to reach out and see how a partnership can help you build your business as well. Tony, I want to bring you back into the conversation and ask you, what kind of things is NAMBA doing on the street to reach minority groups, both consumers and also industry professionals?
Yes, absolutely. And so first and foremost, we recognize that although there's a great market opportunity, the most important thing is really educating first the real estate professional and the lender, right? Because as you heard me say earlier, Carolyn, according to TransUnion and a report that they released last week, there's 300 billion of opportunities for lenders in the LMI and CRE space. And so at NAMBA, we really believe first and foremost, our main goal is to make sure that real estate professionals look at this market as an opportunity, understand the resources that are there, like tools within HFFAs and DPA programs that can truly help them service this community. There's a lot of stigma sometimes that you may have heard in the past about why realtors may not do that or the competitiveness in the marketplace. But I always start with the basic question to any real estate or lender is, if you have an opportunity to put someone in a home and create wealth, is that not a responsibility to do? And hopefully that individual as a consummate real estate agent or lender will say yes. And if so, we want to make sure through education first of training, webinars, live, as we're getting back out into having events throughout the country where we're conducting that training live for those real estate and lenders. We want to make sure that they understand that there are avenues and ways that they can position their client to get a home and take advantage of the resources through HFFAs and DPAs. And then secondly, there has to be, to Eric's point, education around the consumer piece. We just released a study last week on behalf of the NBA where we conducted over 1,100 millennials who purchased a home in 2020. So they purchased a home last year. And 75% of those millennials said that they go to YouTube as part of their first really assessment of trying to understand the home buying process. At the same time, 1 out of 3 said they really didn't know anything and didn't get the right guidance from their loan originator and or real estate agent about the home buying process. So to me, there's an opportunity for NAMBA to help our real estate and lender community do a better job at understanding how to serve as a fiduciary role to that consumer while also helping them to grow their business. And so we're focused on those 2 efforts, both with the agent and lender, but also helping the consumer understand where some of these resources are as well.
When I attended the NAMBA convention in Atlanta, Georgia, a few weeks ago, there was a panel of women that were talking about the sensitivities that we need to be aware of around outreaching to minorities and also industry professionals being minorities. And there was something that really stood out for me. I'm going to bring up and then have you kind of see what your thoughts on it are. But one of the panelists explained that as a company, as you are trying to reach minority or Black populations, in this case was the example, the Black community, that you need to be aware of your messaging because we need to be looking at our own internal biases that we may not be seeing, may not be being aware of. And that requires a lot of honesty and reflection. And as a company, not just the individuals, but as a company, we need to do this. And the example that was used was one of the panelists said that she saw an ad that had an African-American family in the picture, the photo on the flyer, and then right underneath it, it said, you know, homeownership, or it was an offer for homeownership, and it said FICO scores as low as X. And she said, when I look at that ad, she was a Black woman herself, and she said, when I look at that ad, I see you're telling me that Black people are poor. And we all heard that panel say, these are uncomfortable topics, but we need to be addressing them. Because when you are trying to reach communities that maybe you're not familiar with, or maybe you're not a part of, you need to be aware of your messaging so that it is inclusive and not exclusive. Do you have some thoughts on this?
No, absolutely. And we agree. As part of our State of Diversity survey, we surveyed the percentage of ethnicity within key departments within all lenders. And what we found was over 80% of marketing companies are white females and or males. And so obviously when you talk about multicultural lending, through our NAMBA family of companies, one of the ways that we support the marketplace is through Cultural Outreach, which is a multicultural marketing firm based actually in LA. And what we help and try to help companies do at NAMBA and Cultural Outreach is really make sure they understand how to engage the market in terms of that consumer from an ethnicity standpoint, but also realize and recognize that all segments within that ethnicities are different. And what I mean by that is, to your point, Carolyn, there are African Americans who are high net worth, just as well as opportunities to service the marketplace for first-time home buyers and or those who are move up and or move down buyers. And so it's important that lenders understand, one, how to engage, secondly, how to connect, and third, how to resonate through their messaging and also their content, because now more than ever, the consumer has so much power. They're looking at a lender, at an agent, at a lender and saying, I have the ability to choose now more than ever. Why should I do business with you? And do you get me as a consumer? Period.
Do you get me? Yes. Yes. So what would you encourage for other housing finance agencies that really want to increase what they're doing with minority populations? What would you encourage for them to address these issues?
First, a little ad here, connect with NAMBA. And certainly we can help you around that. Secondly, though, in terms of just general awareness and resource, a lot of times it's really important that if you have local partners, which you do, whether it's your real estate groups, NAREP, NAREP, ARIA, and others in your local market who are of those ethnicities, they can also shed and give you feedback as it relates to things that you can look at in terms of how to engage and approach the lender or the consumers in terms of marketing their brand or product just on a general level. But certainly as you look to build a campaign or look to do anything that is going to be of substance, you want to make sure that you're working with a professional marketing firm or organization, because ultimately, I think someone's point earlier, I had I'm on distribution lists all the time, and I had a recent email where an African-American loan originator was sending out an email saying, I can help you with home ownership, but it was a white family. And I quickly had to help the company understand that doesn't resonate with an African-American consumer, and you have an African-American loan officer. So the most important things that organizations can do is seek out relationships that they already have in their local market that are based on those ethnicities that they're trying to serve. And before they implement anything, at least have a focus session to get that immediate feedback.
Focus session, I think that is an excellent idea. And I think this is a great segue. It's imperative that every organization and company does do some reflection on their business practices, how to improve them. And so I'm going to bring Charles into the discussion, because that is exactly what A New American is doing. They have what's called let me see here. It's called a listening group. Is that correct?
A listening circle, yes.
A listening circle. And I want you to share with our audience a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the listening circle was started again through our leadership. I keep coming back to Patty Arviello and her unique view and her style and direction of New American funding. And following the issues that came up summer before last around George Floyd, the social justice movement that we all saw, there was a desire to really allow our employees a safe place where they could talk and speak about these issues. And even with our diversity, there were lots of feelings that came out during that time. And it was thought that this was a good place, Carolyn, for those thoughts and those ideas and feelings and concerns to be expressed. So the listening circle was started during that time, and the activities of the circle continue. We're trying to look at it, even that was a moment in time and something that was sort of changing now, and we're beginning to really look at our employees more closely and to see how we can further develop the listening circle. But I think that is just one place that our employees can engage and be a part of this effort that we have in our company culture. In other ways, we're looking for people to join to become a part of our New American Dream Task Force, our Latino Focus Task Force, and other groups that we're beginning to develop internally from an employee standpoint. So it does continue, Carolyn, but it's sort of a step in the process. And I guess I just wanted to say that as we're talking, and what you wanted from this group was really to talk about solutions, right? And how we move forward, not to dwell on the problem, but what are the opportunities? So I was taking some notes, and I just thought about, and I wanted to mention that Freddie Mac has really partnered with us on a year-long series of webinars around the challenges and opportunities for Black home ownership. Pam Perry leads the group called Single Family Equitable Housing. And so they just did a survey to follow up with Tony. They did a survey on the issues around appraisals, and they did find that minority homes are coming out in values less than majority owned homes. That's some really interesting data. At the KRAB conference last week, Andre Perry from Brookings Institution talked about property valuation and those issues. Between Sandra Thompson, Acting Director of FHFA, has been speaking on these issues, along with Marcia Fudge, our Secretary of HUD. So on the federal level, Caroline, there is a coming together around this issue. When Eric talked about housing counseling agencies, they're key housing counseling intermediaries, such as NID Housing, Home Free, the Urban League, as well as Unidos US, formerly La Raza, that really sit in that space of helping us increase our housing counseling information. I was thinking about NAMBA, obviously what Tony's doing, what Eric is doing in this media space and with HFAs. I was thinking about realtors. Next week, for everyone to know, NARAB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, the Black Real Estate Brokers Organization, is having a Black Housing Summit at Texas Southern University on November 4th and 5th. And they're going to release the State of Housing in Black America report, the SHIBA report, which gives us another set of data. It may show many of the issues that we've talked about, but also hopefully some new information going forward. I was just thinking that, and that I guess goes along with what Tony's TransUnion information about the potential from LMI borrowers, what potential they have to enter the homeownership. So I guess I'm just saying, Carolyn, that it's a whole effort, right? We have all of these different, Eric's talked about that too. There are all these different organizations and people in different places, and we really have to manage and harness those energies. Consumer advocates are really working hard to make sure that the down payment assistance program that President Biden has proposed doesn't get left out of the final bill. Everyone has a role to play, I guess I'm saying. The MBA, as part of the Minority Homeownership Initiative, has initiated a pledge for companies to take to increase their minority homeownership goals and initiatives as well. So it's like all of this, again, is a moment in time that we really haven't seen before. And I think that we have to take full advantage of it right now, right here, right now, to move forward. I hope that helps to answer your question.
It does, and I agree. This is a multifaceted approach, and it seems like the industry as a whole is getting on board to make a difference. I am encouraged and excited to see these homeownership rates have a stark increase in the next 5 years, next 10 years.
Yeah.
Because of all the efforts at the highest level, at the legislative level, all the way down to those on the streets. And you don't have to, as you mentioned, you don't have to create, you don't have to do this all on your own. Partnering with other groups, partnering with counseling centers, partnering with other organizations, and then aligning your own business practices with what they're doing is part of the solution. And it takes some of the work off of you. But definitely puts you on the road to success. So I want to thank all of you for being a part of this panel. I would give you a few last words. We're running a little bit short on time, so I want to check questions because there might be some questions directed at each of you.
Our first question came from Sujata Raman, and she said that the issue is that mostly all down payment programs want to be in the second lien position. Is there a resource to check down payment programs that are willing to go in a more junior, a third or fourth position, so that multiple down payments can be combined? Can someone from that first panel answer that question?
If I may. Yeah, sure.
Absolutely,
so,
Sean.
At Down Payment Resource, we track a copious amount of detail about all of your programs, including for your peers who will accept third or fourth lien position and will thus layer with, your program, or you layer with Golden State or so on and so forth. So yeah, we're happy. I put my contact information in the chat. I'll do that again. Happy to set up a call with my team and show you exactly how it is that we do this, track and monitor your programs. but it is and has to be a collaborative effort. So we need your help to do that in order to broadcast your programs to more and more people.
So I am not aware of a nonprofit, a state, county, or city program that would not allow layering. And so whether it be the Golden State Finance Authority or the California Housing Finance Authority here in California, they will go behind approved seconds and thirds and even fourths in order to get that mortgage down to a payment that is affordable. And this is typically the case for very low to moderate income buyers. They need that kind of subsidy from counties and cities and other nonprofit organizations that are willing to take second, third, fourth positions to get the payment affordable, the loan amount to an affordable payment. And so I specialize in down payment assistance. If anyone needs any further direction on that, please reach out to me. And I'll be utilizing also Sean's resource because it is an incredible platform to keep it all together in one place.
All right, we got a second question for Sean again, and this is from Susan McDevitt from Mary Erickson Community Housing. And she asked, can you access the database outside of the MLS? And how as a nonprofit can we access it? Thank you, and great information.
So there are several ways we can offer access to data or partner with you. Happy to show you some of those. And again, I just put my information in the chat there, but yeah, I mean, the first thing we would do is send you all the data we have about your program, just make sure that's right. And then we can compare against peers, and there are other things we can do with you as well.